I totally zoned you out during that whole thing. I'm just waiting for music.
All right, well, here we go.
It's like I'm walking on sunshine.
All right, welcome to Doomcast number 2. I am Charlie McGrath, your host, along with Doug Owen of blacklistednews.com. My website is wideawakenews.com, and you can hear every Wednesday Doomcast on doomcast.com. And I'm going to explain why we're changing our format up here a little bit. First of all, let me introduce Doug. Doug Owen, Blacklisted News. Thank you very much for meeting with me, as we are going to do every Wednesday from now on to host Doomcast. It's great to be back with you.
Yeah, as well. And it might be confusing to new listeners because this is actually Thursday, and that's because Charlie doesn't drink alcohol. And so
that's right. Because I don't drink, the listening audience, the downloading audience, is being punished, and we'll get into that story in a minute. But the original premise, for those of you, and there was a lot of you, a lot of you listened to the Doomcast number 1. And I told Doug, we're gonna treat this kind of like UFC fighting. Every event is gonna have its own number. So Doomcast 1, this is Doomcast number 2. We were only going to do this once a month. Doug and I both, for those of you who don't know myself or don't know Doug, we've both been in independent media for quite some time now. We both have our websites. We both had radio programs, and we both got along great over the years and enjoyed being on each other's programs. So we decided, when we backed off of so much work handling radio programs and websites, we would have a periodical podcast that we would do together. And initially, it was going to be once a month, and we'll put it out there. Well, we did. We kicked that off a few days back, and the response on it was absolutely outstanding. And I think on my YouTube channel now, we're over 4,000 people listen to that, and that, in and of itself, for a video, isn't huge numbers. My channel has like 16,000 subscribers, but when you have 30 minutes to an hour of audio that 4,000 people listen to, and you look at the statistics that you can on these videos, you find when people are dropping off, if they're listening to the whole thing, and most of the people listen to that entire thing, and most of the comments were very, very positive. Doug, I know you had excellent feedback as well from the many different venues that you posted it, correct?
Yeah, and I think that's really what contributed to us doing this on a weekly basis, is that there was an overwhelmingly positive and maybe somewhat polarized response to the show. And we thought that initially would happen, and the people that get it love it. The people that don't get it
hate us,
will be offended, and,
yep.
and they will be sorely remiss. But
yeah, there'll be people offended, and there's no doubt, because we're not, we're calmly looking at reality, and when you are calm, or when you look at things through basic common sense, a common sense approach, in independent media, you're going to piss some people off because they want you to be seething and raging at everything, and everything is leading to doom, and everything is a conspiracy, and if you don't agree with that lockstep, then you must be working for the man, or fill in the blank, some group, or you must be a shill or a plant, or you must be getting rich, serving whatever cabal that is.
You're part of the Illuminati.
That's right. You are the Illuminati. So, long story short, because last time we tried to keep it at 45 minutes and we failed miserably, so I want to explain quickly why. This isn't going to be a monthly deal now. We're going to do it every week. So every Wednesday, unless my sobriety is a further issue, we will be doing every Wednesday, releasing it on Thursday. So quickly, and
we're going to have to talk about your sobriety starting to affect the show.
It is.
And I care about you, Charlie, and I want to make sure that everything's okay.
It's a Dirty Doug intervention. It's
your sobriety is affecting your family now.
It is, and I need to get unsober. That's what I need to do. I have to stop being sober, and it's obviously cutting into my my podcast time, and it's cutting into my independent media time. And for those of you who are wondering what the hell I'm talking about, I'll tell you, I get picked. Doug and I both have day jobs, And I don't drink. I haven't had a drink in 13 years.
Wow.
And yeah, yeah. Actually, I'm Irish. I'm extremely Irish. I have 10 brothers and sisters.
Yeah,
Irish
what are you
Catholic.
trying to say there, huh?
The Irish are drunks. They like to drink. They like their hooch, and I'm no different. I grew up. We own bars, and I grew up drinking. I mean, the first time I got drunk, I was 11 years old. It was on Puerto Rican rum, 6 shots. I remember it very well, at least the drinking part of it. And then, growing up in that lifestyle, watching guys sitting on bar stools crying to the bartender, crying to me in a lot of cases, how much they miss their kids, how much they miss, their ex-wife, and how much they miss, being a family man as they're sitting on the bar getting drunk at turning 50 years old. I decided that, you know what, when I have a kid, I'm not going to do that. So when my son was born, I said, that's it. I'm not having another drink. And he's never seen me drink. Unfortunately, that all sounds noble, right? What a noble guy Charlie is. Well, there's a downside to this. And the downside is this. If you work in any field, really, and you have to entertain clients, if you don't drink, then you are automatically the guy that gets volunteered to host every single function that you'll ever have, because more than likely you're like me and you will be the only one in your organization that doesn't drink. Ergo, you are a perfect candidate to drive everybody home and make sure everybody gets home safe. That's exactly what happened last night, and it doomed the Wednesday night Doomcast, Doug.
Yeah, it doomed me out a little bit. I was kind of bummed.
I was doomed too. I was doomed out. I was glad to see. I was texting your wife frantically. I thought I was texting you, but she was on your phone
Right.
to say, "Hey, tell Dirty Doug, I can't. I'm not gonna. It's gonna be late. Blah blah blah." And you were out running, so I'm glad to see that you're staying in shape, getting ready for, the Apocalypto. You and I both have the same Apocalypto haircut, and we're both staying physically fit so we can make it to the other side.
Yeah. Well, you got to make life choices, and there's a lot of things that you can do to better yourself. And one of those is probably not go outside when it's 103 degrees and decide to run. But I gave it a go, and it's my way to chelate metal, from your body. When you go out and you just sweat, it's the only way other than actually pulling metals from your body via some kind of regimen or other techniques. So that's what I opt for, and I've been running for about a year and a half now. And actually today is myself and my wife's 2-year anniversary of quitting smoking cigarettes. So yeah, so there you go. Oh, where's my applause sound effect?
I do it. It's a Doom.
Yeah, there we go. And thank you, everybody. Thank you. All right. So Charlie.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Listen, whoa, I'm not done. Okay. That's the Doom clap right there. I commend you. Listen, I was a avid runner for years. About a year and a half ago, as I choke. I need to hold on. I need to smoke.
Yeah.
I need to smoke. A year and a half ago, sinus surgery, developing exercise-induced asthma. But I was a runner for years. When I was in the military, I started, and I've got multiple marathons under my belt. I absolutely love running, love it with a passion. Unfortunately, I'm completely unable to do anything that gets my heart rate over about 130 beats a minute now, so I'm reduced to weightlifting. So keep up the running as long as you can, because I miss it more than I can describe.
Well, I have to take weeks off sometimes just to kind of let the body heal a little bit. You start getting achy, so it's hard on the body. There's a lot of other things you can do, like rowing. Anyway, well, yeah, so that's why we've come back to do the podcast, and we pushed it to Thursday, and we're making more and more time for it. We're going to be dedicating more of our, vested time in this broadcast, and by doing this, I think it's the first leap forward. So let's jump right into it.
Well, and there's more things coming too that I'm excited about, Doug. And you know what? I'm excited because I know you and I will do them. You and I are both committed to this. We'll if we say we're going to do every week, we'll do it every week. If the things that are coming, soon down the line, such as this will all be done via video as well, so people will have the ability to access a live video stream or at least a live video of the program. This is all coming, and I know you and I will grow this because we both have, first of all, the know-how to bring a program together. And second of all, and most importantly, the desire to do it. So good things coming with Doomcast. It is by far and away, in my experience with independent media, this is the biggest thing that I've done in the last several years since I've been starting doing this. This is the thing I'm most excited about. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to parallel that. Just say I'm really excited about Doomcast, and other people are as well. They're like, so what's up with Doomcast? I'm really excited about it. So
we'll see you all next Wednesday. Have a good night. Peace out.
Yeah, that's it. We're out of here.
Yeah.
So let's see. Yesterday, I listened to your epic rant about the TSA Viber teams and the expansion of their new roles in our lives. As somebody who likes to go outside, it kills me to know that there's another regulatory agency that has jackbooted thugs on the streets that will be giving us the shakedown. Meanwhile, they are disarming the American people and arming the Syrian terrorists, Al-Qaeda, Al-Nusra, and other ne'er-do-wells. And it's so wacky now, even Pentagon officials and those in the DOD are saying, look, if Assad goes, Al-Qaeda will be empowered and they will have chemical weapons. Yesterday, I saw an article from the New York Post, and it says that there's only, this is the never-ending number. There's only 100 Al-Qaeda terror suspects left. Well, anyway, I start questioning our foreign policy because I think that we have, and our domestic policy, obviously, they're treating us like terrorists, and they are treating these terrorists like they are freedom-fighting, great, good, well-intentioned people. And
yes, they're freedom fighters. They're purple-fingered freedom fighters. And for those of you who don't understand that reference, that is, if we all remember back at the beginning of the destabilization process of the world after 9/11, every time there was an election, a so-called free election, the people had to dip their fingers in purple ink so they wouldn't vote multiple times. So Purple Finger Revolution is our stated goal around the world. But the thing that sickens me, because Doug, you're right about we're arming the terrorists. And for the, some people that are in independent world understand that I say that tongue in cheek because the terrorists, air quote, that we've been told that we need to fear over the last decade, and we've spent literally trillions of dollars of our future that we don't have. We've thrown thousands of American men and women into a meat grinder. And as graphic as an image as that it puts into your mind, good. That's what I want, because that's what we're doing for a cause that is absolutely a canard, a lie, a falsehood from the beginning to the end. They are butchering our men and women like they're nothing but meat, not to mention the hundreds of thousands and arguably millions of people who've died, nationals around the world, in the name of fighting terrorism. So if that is all true, if all this terror threat is causing this expenditure of our financial future into oblivion and killing of American men and women and killing of nationals around the world, if that is so dangerous to the world right now, then it should take everybody's breath away when we have people like John McCain talking about, and we have Congress in general. I'm not going to just put it on John McCain or Lindsey Graham, but Congress in general and even our president talking about the need to arm these freedom fighters inside of Syria. And what makes it even more disgusting is this isn't something new. I mean, the Syria model where we're going to arm the freedom fighters, air quote, this isn't new. We just did it in Libya. And we're still talking about Benghazi. We're still talking about destabilizing Libya, where we killed Muammar Gaddafi and put it all up on YouTube. We've done that time after time over the last decade, and we're still falling for the exact same lies and the exact same story by the exact same actors: McCain, Graham, Obama, Bush. They tell us that democracy wants to flourish in these regions, so we're going to arm the exact same people that we've destroyed our country over. Literally, we've destroyed our military, we've destroyed our financial future, and we've destroyed vast regions of this world in the name of fighting terrorism. And here we are, Al-Nusra, Al-Qaeda, the same exact people we were shooting at in Afghanistan and in Iraq and in Libya. Now we're going to be facing them again in Syria. But as long as it's destabilizing the region and corporate special interests can gain a foothold, then guess what? They will be freedom fighters, and we will spend blood and treasure to no end. So, yeah, it's a lie from start to finish, and it boggles my mind, Doug Owen, how the how a populace in the West, for the most part, fall for it. Because for the
Right.
most part, we are.
Yeah. Well, the Huffington Post had a piece yesterday that was warning me about people like you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty
Do
pretty
tell,
shocking.
do tell.
If you're unhappy with American foreign policy, it seems the government considers you a high threat. A new security training test created by the Defense Information Systems Agency marks people who are unhappy with foreign policy as potential insider threats. What can
See, now you're a domestic terrorist. Now, they don't want to say domestic terrorist because that has a negative connotation, so you're an insider threat. We will continue here.
you tell us about this program? This is mind-boggling to me.
It's
Yeah, it's
mind-boggling.
pretty remarkable.
Me too.
It's the security awareness training that's been given to millions of federal employees, not just in the Defense Department, even interns in minor federal agents.
So anyway, people are like you and myself and most of the doomers out there are taking note that the foreign policy, the $6 trillion we've spent in Iraq, and the untold debt, not to mention the ecological impacts from depleted uranium. Just look at Fallujah. I mean, that's even becoming mainstream now. It is just horrific. But if you question how your tax dollars, your taxation with representation is going, you might be an insider threat. And so I hate to say
Look,
that I don't feel vindicated, but I've been saying for 10 years that all of this is going to be used on the American people because, hey, there's only 100 Al-Qaeda terrorists left, and everybody else over there is a freedom fighter, and everything else is just going splendidly, Mr. McGrath.
Yeah, no, Doug Owen, listen, that is exactly right. And I know you've been saying it a long time, and so have I. And not only do I don't want to feel vindicated. Honestly, it's at a point now, Doug, where I really I've been in the professional world my whole adult life, right? Professional businessman, my whole adult life. It's not like I've just come out of the woodwork from conspiracy land, right? So it isn't like I want this kind of thing to occur. It isn't like I'm hoping that I'm vindicated. I'm terrified that we are being vindicated, that we are seeing come to fruition the things that we're talking about. And it's just like talking in 2008 about, guess what, in 2009, you're going to start hearing about austerity around the world, and then you're going to hear about it on our shores, and then you're going to see the breadlines, and then you're going to see the poverty, and then you're going to see the civil unrest, then you're going to see the pushback, then you're going to see a security industrial complex that has exploded out of control over the last decade be used on the people in this country. And it doesn't really matter at this point if you're listening to Doug or me or any other independent source and you're hearing these things and not believing him, because the days of trying to convince people of this are rapidly running out. Look, how much more blatant? How much?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, you got blimps now over Washington, D.C. We have Homeland Security running domestic drone program. That came out this week right out of Syracuse, New York.
Look, Michelle Cantalona, I think I'm saying her name right, Catalona. She is a former editorial writer for Forbes magazine. Now, Michelle and her husband happen to have some interests. One of them, she wanted to learn how to cook lentils quickly, I am assuming. So she gets on the computer and types in how to cook lentils, and then it gives her something about using a pressure cooker, so she looks up pressure cookers. And a few days later, her husband, for whatever reason, is looking up different backpacks.
Back to school.
So, back to school, backpacks. Pressure cooker backpack, right? I just put those two words together in this podcast. When she did it, she had a joint terrorism task force show up at her front door and search her house. Look, you have Obama last night going on Leno, or just the other day going on Leno, and talking about how we're not spying on the American people.
No domestic spying program.
Right. And for anybody that wants to, that listens to that and believes it, but yet can look at even the establishment media and the truth that's being released, man, I tell you, it is far down the path of tyranny. If you type in pressure cooker and backpack, and you're going to have a joint terrorism task force unit show up at your house, you should be terrified. That is the path to doom, Doug Owen.
Well, it is, and it's selectively. I think that I don't know if I believe the story. I just don't know if I believe it, but because I just believe a lot of stuff that's in the media is planted there. The ultimate skeptic, so people that think that I soft pedal different agendas.
What is your take? I mean, I did read several articles written on, or several commentaries written on that story, and it seemed that that there was no disputing the fact that there was a group of individuals. She called them Joint Terrorism Task Force unit showed up at her place. What were some of the other detractors of that I apparently didn't read?
No, I just think it could be a planted story. I mean,
Well, Snowden, the whole Snowden thing could be a planted story.
I mean, it's my conjecture. I don't have a bunch of compelling evidence other than just listening to the presentation, watching some of the videos, listening to the commentary, and I just thought that the dialogue seemed somewhat scripted. And if not, it's being used as a way to, I think, instill fear in people. Right now, we're being berated with the Big Brother surveillance state, and I think that is intentional. I think
maybe we should do a Doomcast test here, and maybe I should just do a little Google search here and see what happens. Do a little Google search on pressure cooker and.
They won't come back for another month or so. I mean, they can't actually do anything that would help prevent terrorism.
Yeah, it would have been over with by then.
They'll hit you up 7 months after the fact. There was a little girl, and just a sidebar for a moment, but she'd written something about George W. Bush, and she wanted to stab him or something to that effect on Facebook, and she had deleted the comment after being chastised by other Facebookers. Like, you can't say that, that's illegal. Okay, I'm sorry. Right? They went to her school 7 months after the fact, and the Secret Service interrogated her without her parents' knowledge. Okay, they picked her up and they talked to her, and of course immediately they assess the situation. Obviously not a real threat, but they still go through these I think just asinine procedures so that people get used to this idea that they have to.
And I think on many levels. First of all, it is the bureaucracy at its worst, right? And I was in the military. I know that there's rules that are put in place. Sometimes they're put in place because of events that happened earlier, and they're always covering their butts. So they'll follow these bots that we have in government service, and they're Q bots if they're working in an administrative position, and they're terror bots if they're out there trying to be quote law enforcement. Even though common sense would tell you this is nothing, and they could have dispelled this long before it being escalated to a level of showing up in a middle school and interviewing some little girl. But that is just too much common sense. They have to follow the script, the government protocol, and if it means scaring the hell out of everybody in that school, setting an example to her and of her and her parents, then they have absolutely no problem doing it whatsoever. And in a lot of ways, you're right. It probably does serve some kind of benefit to desensitize the people as this thing is normal. These things are normal. Better watch what you're saying. If you say the wrong thing, you're going to have Uncle Sam show up and put the hammer down.
Yeah, that's what you take away from it. It has that chilling effect. So that's I just have questions. I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to I think that the point is well taken regardless. I've taken away, in most of the people that have seen that story and other stories like that have taken away something from it. Just like I was talking with a friend of mine, and he said he was getting a new cell phone, some new smartphone. I was like, yeah, well, the NSA is going to appreciate all those pictures of your wife. And he's like, what are you going to do about it, man? What are you going to do about it? And I was like, well, when you pay your taxes, just remember that you're paying it to a criminal cabal that surfs through your phone, and that you are the terrorist. You are the person that they are most interested in. And so all of this that was sold to us under the guise of protecting us from terrorists have now turned the American people into their targets, their prey. And it is very predatory. So just keep that, when you write that check at the end of the year, just go ahead and keep that in the back of your mind. It's not something patriotic that you're, these aren't freedom dollars that you're spending. These aren't, things that are going to help the wonderful people of America. You're not doing something patriotic. That's all I ask.
We're keeping America free, man. We're keeping America free. USA.
I mean,
USA.
is this free? I mean, to just go back to the
USA.
blimps. This is what is flying. There's going to be 2 of these over Washington, D.C., and maybe wherever you live pretty soon.
JLANS, the Joint Land Attack Cruise Missile Defense Elevated Netted Sensor System.
Yeah.
A revolutionary surveillance
Did you hear that? Listen to this.
JLANS, the Joint Land Attack Cruise Missile Defense Elevated Netted Sensor System. A revolutionary surveillance capability, providing continuous detection and fire control data on Army, Navy, and joint networks. Relevant to today's persistent threats at a cost below other existing conventional systems. Demonstrating key capabilities.
Great
and
bumper
readiness.
music under that.
It is.
That's Raytheon right there.
Yeah, I was gonna say that has to be Raytheon or one of the big military-industrial complex leaders, because they put together almost with this porn music backdrop to it.
They can't get past the 80s rock. Yeah, we're gonna kill people.
We're kicking ass. Yeah, Rambo, America. We're gonna bring the pain, make it rain. All the catchphrasey, all the cliche, all the just make you want to vomit if you realize how the future is being destroyed in order to stuff the coffers of these Raytheon-esque type corporations. And, so it's probably not appropriate.
They understand the deal. This is what it's really about, okay? Congress, pretty brazen, has exempted themselves from Obamacare tyranny. The electronic medical record system, EMR, is not getting a lot of discussion in all of these talks. Yeah, the DEA's working with the IRS and your electrical co-op and probably tapping your smart meter to find out if you're growing dank. Yeah, they have plenty of resources for that. They have plenty of resources to, I don't know if you saw that ridiculous story about the baby deer this week. The baby deer that the SWAT team had to, they had surveillance, overhead satellite surveillance of this deer. And I think it may have been drone surveillance of this deer at an animal shelter. Somebody who wanted to take care of Bambi dropped off this baby deer, and then the government thugs came in there, and rather than it was set to go to a wildlife preserve, they ended up shooting it because it's part of their protocol. So anyway, and you wonder, well, wow, they just have so many resources here. It's just amazing. You go to some small town in Montana, they probably have tanks. They probably have,
I'm in Bozeman, Montana, and it's a militarized police force. It's 50,000 people that live here. Wow. And it's it's everywhere the exact same, and that's one benefit of doing this for this many years now, Doug, is you and I have been able to talk to people, not just all across the country and all around the world, right? One of the last interviews I did was with a lady who's in Belgium, and she's from Germany, moved to Belgium, but the militarization of police, the absolute total tyrannical efforts of government are the same around this planet, and it is all about control of the people, not of this lunacy that we're fighting in terror. Look, while you were talking there, and while that Raytheon love fest for killing was blasting there, I Googled. I just picked something that I hear once in a while. You hear these shyster lawyers come on TV and they talk about, do you have a mesothelioma? Do you have anybody in your family who's died of mesothelioma? Call Dr. blah, 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 or whatever, attorney blah, 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 and we'll get you some money. So I just Googled while we were chatting there, mesothelioma, to see how many people die from that. And in the UK, it's the first one that came up. In the UK in 2010, 2,100 people died of mesothelioma. All right, so if we look at the 2,100 people that died in 1 year inside of the UK, that is tantamount, right, to on average a 10-year span of people who are killed by terrorist activity around this planet, right? And yes, there's outliers. There's the outliers like 9/11, but even that factored into it, the odds of you being killed by a terrorist act, or the odds of being involved in some kind of terrorist activity, is less than being hit by lightning, right? Yet we can spend like there is no tomorrow. We can turn into nothing but ATM machines for the Raytheons of the world. They can get ridiculously ridiculously wealthy and ridiculously powerful and control legislation, control politics, so that we are nothing more than ended up being debt slaves to these corporations. Now, this movement, right? We talk a lot about debt slaves to the Federal Reserve. Well, you know what? We're truly debt slaves to the corporate special interest that controls and dictates to our government what will be law and what won't be law. And unfortunately, it's been a masterful propaganda job trying to sell the notion that we need to be terrified around every corner because there's going to be a terrorist attack. We have to give away all this freedom because if we don't, we're going to have some kind of a shooting, some kind of crazy event that's going to take your child's life. And when the realization that we've spent our way into complete destitution, when we've given away our Constitution and destroyed it and given away our freedom, when we can't say what we want to say, when we can't do what we want to do because it's going to be surveilled, when that realization finally occurs and there's a tipping point and the people get pissed off about it, well, there's a solution for that, and it is the aforementioned militarized federal forces that we have across this land. That is the next stage of this, Doug Owen, and that's, I believe, where we're heading. And everything that we talk about points to just that.
Well, there's a lot of other things we should be fearful of. I don't know if you heard about the top-notch science team, the developers that are actually, I think, paramount, maybe even to DARPA, that work for Al-Qaeda. Now, there's only 100 of them, and I laugh because this is these ridiculous numbers that mean nothing, that they just throw out here. But they have developed liquid that turns clothes into explosives. Have you heard about this?
No, I've heard about the surgical implants that we need to be worried about, but not the liquid clothes.
Yeah, well, there's the booby bombs, and there's the booty bombs, and if you say it bombs one more time, you get a NSA flag there.
Yeah.
But you know, congressmen and others have been trying to sell rape-a-scan machines, and now they have some radio frequency system that gets you to do the Illuminati pose, like you're with your hands over your head inside of it. Anyway, this article comes from Herat, so it's an Israeli newspaper. So you know the agenda is obvious, just in the publication to of course get the Israeli people who are probably pretty fearful of Al Qaeda and other terrorist activity, and every once in a while they get to watch a bottle rocket show come in from Hezbollah, and we bought them an Iron Dome system. We go on and on. Well, the rest of the world has military security, but here not so much. But they are definitely trying to get the ridiculous notion that these guys are just these super badass, James Bond-esque, spies. This network,
super powerful, super intelligent, super, tenacity in buckets, and there's 100 of them, and they're just shifting from nation to nation,
right?
Trying to destabilize. And this week alone, 19 people have died in drone strikes inside of Yemen. Right, so I mean that's what 20% of the 100 are now dead. So I feel a little better that there's only 81 left. But I mean that is the beauty, if you will, the absolute disgusting beauty of a war on terror, America, and anybody else listening to this. They've presented to you an enemy that can never be defeated. It can never be conquered. It can never surrender. It has no homeland. It has no beginning, and it has no end. Once you wrap your mind around that, you realize that you've been entered into something that is never, ever coming to an end. That means if you lose 1% of your rights every 6 months because of the war on terror, then inevitably, as we prosecute a war on terror forever, because it will have to be prosecuted forever, eventually you will end up in cuffs. You will end up in nothing but a police state. That is the end goal. I mean, mathematically, it has to happen. So the simple formula that I wish people would realize is we are fighting infinity, because infinity is never going to end. We can't count to infinity. So is this war on terror. It's 100 if we're trying to beat the patriotic drums and say, hey, everybody jump on board. America, USA, freedom is still free. We're the greatest democracy ever. It's 100. We whittled it down to 100. We kicked Osama off the side of an aircraft carrier. We're winning. But it's not if we need to beat the drums of war once again. Then it's like, oh my dear Lord in heaven, these NSA intercepts that are stealing every piece of information that you send electronically, this NSA intrusion into your freedom, look how important it is. Because of tactics like this, we've heard key Al-Qaeda members talking about an imminent attack on U.S. Territory overseas. So we're going to shut down 19 bases, we're going to shut down 19 embassies, and we're going to scare the hell out of the American people. If you're an American, you better not be traveling anywhere in the world. If you're in Wyoming, you better stay in Wyoming. Don't go to Idaho, because Al-Qaeda, they're sending messages. We intercepted them through the NSA tactics, and look how great this is working. Isn't it a good thing that we're stealing your freedom? See, it's a game that can never be won by freedom. Freedom's always going to lose out.
Right.
Beat the drums. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I mean,
well, I think a lot of people get confused. And I heard Bill Maher say, well, this is different. This is nuclear war. These are different times. This is an enemy that wants to kill us. And,
right.
That it's always been that way. It's always been that way. That's the same thing Theodore Roosevelt said when we saw the age of steam. It was the age of sail, but now with the age of steam, we're so close to one another. We cannot allow this. We have to change the laws. We have to change the rules. And I think it's real simple. Either you have unalienable rights or you don't.
No.
You either have those rights or you don't. You don't conditionally have rights. The Constitution is not conditional. The Magna Carta is not conditional. Well, you have all of these rights except for under this catch-all clause.
Yeah. Yeah, and let's be honest, all right? Let's be honest. I mean, Gatling, when he invented the Gatling gun, thought he ended war because it was so horrific. I mean, a nuclear-armed world is where we live, right? And during World War II, I know we dropped bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, 50,000 in one dead and 30,000 in another. Look, we killed more people in Dresden firebombing it. Firebombing is far more lethal than nuclear attack. So the notion that just because we live in an age where it is possible to have mass murder and that, I'm with you, Doug. That doesn't mean that, shucks. I'm just going to, how about I just live in a big dormitory provided to me by the government, and I can have microphone and cameras in the walls, so everything is watched and surveilled 24/7, and I'll just go make widgets during the day, and as long as I can come back at night, sit in my concrete cubicle and watch TV and drink a few beers, then I'll be safe. I'm in America. I'm free, right?
Well, that's what most people do. But you know what I do? I look for things that have the words impending world doom in them, and I found an article that I think is a great segue. This was on Zero Hedge just 2 days ago. Impending world doom, and this is from, I think, Financial Juice. I suppose if we calculate statistics, we can prove absolute...
Whoa. Did you say Financial Jews?
No, juice, like...
Okay.
Yes.
My bad.
Yeah. They could be, too. I don't know. I suppose if we calculate statistics, we can prove absolutely anything by creating a correlation. So failed Barclays, did just that. Their Bank of UK actually created this index that looked at skyscrapers. So according to this index, the construction of the world's tallest buildings have always coincided with the great slumps and recessions that we have seen throughout history. The Chrysler Building was completed in 1930, the Empire State Building completed in 1931, and the Great Depression all happened at the same time. The Khalifa in Dubai was started in 2004 and finished in 2009, right in time for the financial crisis. It goes on and on and on, and it shows all of these other...
Oh, my God. Do we have one being built right now, Doug Owen?
Oh, absolutely. But this is the interesting thing. It's pointing towards China, which is building skyscrapers that are much bigger than ours. And the same thing with India. India is the second country that is embarking on a super building project. There are 14 skyscrapers that have been planned to see the light of day. So basically the idea is that, the skyscrapers coincide with these building booms, and that means heavy investment, often overinvestment, and it also means misallocations of capital, and you have Arab sheiks that have delusions of grandeur with spinning skyscrapers, and I mean just the crazy stuff
building
that they
have. Pumping sand and building islands out in the middle of the Mediterranean out of nothing because they can't.
It's the Vegas model. And just the other day I saw that it was either in Dubai or one of the big cities in the UAE. They've gone back to Lamborghinis for the police department to assist you in beating your wife or whatever you're doing there, or maybe just gambling with Donald Trump in his tower. I don't know, but that's this perception, or it creates this perception that
it's the building boom doom index. So when we have these mega skyscrapers come up and they breach the current world record, they go to the next one. There's soon to be doom thereafter. Now you mentioned China though is
the Shanghai Tower, $2.4 billion. And they even have correlations with the height, and showing the height index and how that correlates to the financial doom and gloom, the depression. So the Chinese property bubble already started to pop in 2011, according to this, and those cities. Remember seeing the big cities they had built?
I was there. About 6 months ago, I was in China.
Did you see the neighborhoods, these cities that had planned opolis that had no people living there?
I saw dorms and projects, I'll call them. And huge expanse of projects where nobody was living,
right?
Because they were building for building's sake. Now,
that's what they did in North Korea. If you look at North Korea during the 50s, they just built all of these huge testaments to
as long as it was within view of the demilitarized zone. Yeah, they built some model cities there. Pyongyang, you see images of Pyongyang, the capital of North Korea, and it's got these 8-lane superhighways running, and there's 5 cars in the whole city. I think the big difference between the build out in China and North Korea is China, was able to absorb all this wealth out of the U.S. Because of the transfer of all of our labor to the Chinese, and that's exactly, they have all this money. They have to keep their 1.4 billion people doing something. That's a lot of meals to come up with every day. So they're having to build for building's sake, and you have these massive build outs of these ghost cities, not just ghost malls, ghost cities. But they're hurting right now. They're hurting. The people that I talk to there, they're talking double-digit down in business year over year for the last couple of years in China. So,
but the government and the corrupt officials are putting so much money back into investment, not only in places like Africa. We're seeing the repercussions, or maybe the response is a better term, from AFRICOM and the U.S. But this brings me right back to China, and I wanted to talk about this because in not only that, but the RT guy here, he's obviously Russian, and it's pretty funny to listen to him. But you remember that China bailed out Europe, helped absorb a lot of their completely insolvent banks by buying up all of those toxic assets. So they're trying to expand their footprint. And before we get to this, I've got a clip here, but I wanted to just mention that when you compare Russia, China, and the U.S., if you look at the United States, we have 700 bases overseas with 280,000 personnel. Russia has 12 bases in 12 countries with about 30,000 personnel. Britain has 8,000 personnel in 6 countries. France also has bases in 5 countries, and primarily in Africa, some of the old apartheid, with 7,000 mercenary killers. And so overall, when you look at the military footprint, the U.S. is way out in front, ahead of Russia. And I did want to mention that because the Saudi Arabians, I don't know if you heard about the indecent proposal, as I call it, but they were basically trying to bribe Russia into abandoning Assad and giving them a very lucrative multi-billion-dollar weapons contract. And that's what Syria is best known for, and that is being a weapons partner with Russia. So China's on the move, though. There's a lot of stuff out of the economic doom paves the way for many of these people in China to spend all of their money. And it reminds me of this movie. I don't know if you've seen it. Network, Ned Beatty, the guy, the commentator. He goes crazy.
Yes, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
wait a minute. That's I'm mad as hell. I'm not gonna take it anymore. That guy.
Yeah. Exactly. So, there's this point where he's meeting with Mr. Beale, who is the news guy, and after he does this and he starts telling the truth, people freak out and they love him and they start idolizing him. Well, anyway, he explains the ebb and flow of money. In the 1970s, you had the oil embargoes, you had the energy crisis, and he explains to Mr. Beale how we have to have an ebb and flow of capital. So the U.S. has pumped tons of, debt. Not as much cash, but mostly debt, mostly notes to the Chinese. But they're buying stuff. Here you go. This is a funny clip. You'll like it.
Go.
Oh, wait. Not there. Here.
And Beijing has been pouring cash into the infrastructure of debt-ridden Greece, making it a gateway for investment and trade between China and Europe. On top of that, China has become a priority market for the Greek food business. RT's Igor Piskunov has more.
This is not the set of a movie about the post-apocalyptic world, but the old international airport of Athens. This is what 6 years of recession, 27% of unemployment, and billions of euro in debt look like, since this airport may very well be the perfect reflection of the Greek economy. And since its creditors, or the Troika, demand that Greece raises nearly $70 billion by the year 2022, it has to sell off its state assets. And here is where the Chinese come in. Beijing isn't only planning to purchase this whole abandoned facility, but is also looking at leasing the current working international airport. It's also attracted other countries like Russia and the US, but there's a great chance that that deal may also go to China. Back in 2009, China's COSCO State Shipping Company leased half of Greece's largest port near Athens for 35 years, and local authorities say it's completely revitalized it. It's a win-win situation. Great business for COSCO and millions of euro in tax revenues for.
Yeah, so anyway, Mr. Russian spy here is...
It's been a good deal for the Chinese.
Very good deal. So the Chinese, I mean, they've got cash to spend, and they can't... they're controlled in a lot of the ways that they can't spend it, but they're buying up Greece. And guess what? They're not hiring Grecian people, okay? The Greeks are not getting jobs. The Chinese are exporting their people to other nations. They're doing it to this country. Nobody's talking about. Everybody's talking about Detroit, how it's failed, and the economic model that has failed the people. Nobody's talking about the fact that the companies themselves are the ones that abandoned Detroit and are now negotiating Trans-Pacific Partnership (TPP) behind closed doors. So, our futures, our economic corridors are being created by General Motors, or as I like to call them, government motors, more so than anyone else in Congress, which is spending time exempting themselves from accountability and having to be tracked by their own license plates. I don't know if you heard about this, but
I heard, and isn't that that all in the same week? They have the special license plates that can't be photographed, even though there's billions of photographs, billions of images recorded of us, the mere cattle out here driving around. But that, along with, as you alluded to earlier, they don't have to participate in the same Obamacare that everybody else is going to have to step up for. So I mean, it's what you're creating is exactly what they have inside of China. You have an elite political class, which is commingled with a elite financial class, and then you have everybody else, and everybody else gets whatever that elite class says is best for them, but not for this elite class themselves. So, it is the sucking sound Ross Perot talked about. It is the evacuation. Ew, that was a Doug Owen sucking sound. It is the evacuation of our capacity to be great on this planet. And we will end up in a place that, we're not making a better world for our kids, Doug. There's absolutely nobody. If you want to help your child right now, you want to enter them into some kind of course that they learn something like Mandarin, right? Because,
or maybe Spanish.
See.
Yeah, see. Hey, you know what you could do? You could move them to the happiest places in America. I found an infographic about where you can move to.
Oh, is Bozeman, Montana one of them? Because we're pretty happy here.
Let me see. The United States. We stack up pretty high. We're higher. We're happier than other people. Hungary is. Let's see. Switzerland is top 10. Okay, we're in the middle somewhere. Norway, Iceland, Sweden, Denmark, Netherlands, Finland, Canada, Austria, Mexico. People in Mexico are happier. My God, tells you something right there.
Mexico gets a bad rap, and here's why. I know you live in Texas, right? So you're right there, but you get the northern area, right? A Mexico where all the drug battles are going on, and that's a whole different Mexico than, let's say, down south, in Mexico City, or in the rest of the country. Mexico's huge; it's 100+ million people, and I think there's a pretty decent standard of living for the most part. We definitely see the worst side of it on our border states.
Yeah,
I don't know. How,
you know what? Texas, where I live, none. Montana, none of these registered. I don't know. Santa Rosa, California, Napa. Yeah, everybody's drunk. San Jose, Santa Cruz, Simi Valley, San Clemente, Santa Barbara. And then it goes to Colorado. There's a bunch of places in Colorado where people are really happy and blissful.
What?
Fort Collins, Longmont, Lafayette, Boulder.
I don't believe
Have
it.
you even heard of Asheville, North Carolina? We might have a listener out there. I don't know. People are excited about that. Green Bay, Wisconsin. I get that.
I believe that.
I get Green Bay because I've been to Green Bay and people are just jovial. They are happy and they are eating cheese and watching the Packers. And then you have Spokane, Washington, which.
I don't believe that. If because a lot of those places you mentioned I've been to, like all the burgs around Denver, right? The Longmont and I don't believe that. People, I mean, that is a very
It's the Mile High. That's what they have.
Yeah, man, they're still stuck on the urban sprawl. There's still the horrendous traffic to deal with there. The Wisconsin thing. I just came back from Superior, Wisconsin, here not very long ago, and Superior is kind of icky. It's in and of itself, but the people seem really, really happy, and I think it's population density, right? I really do. I think the more people you cram into an area, the more chances are you to develop hostilities, at least in my opinion. Maybe that's because I live in a very rural area. But, I think they're being biased on this test. I dismiss it outright. Doug Owen.
Oh, well, I can't counter that.
I need to dismiss.
It's on the Huffington Post, so the third metric, you got to take it with a grain of salt. I mean, how can you measure people's happiness? Who are you talking to? What kind of double-blind study did not happen?
And what is the metric, right? And this is the point that I make all the time, especially when I get people that say, "Oh man, you know, look at it, the stock market's at 15,000 points, and blah blah blah. There's more people out in restaurants, and they're refining houses." And these arguments are being used that we're on a path to recovery, but you could use the same thing to gauge happiness. Guess what? They're sending credit card offers again in the mail. So people are out there spending, and we've been taught throughout our entire childhood, in most of our cases, that spending equals pleasure equals good. So maybe people are happy because the spigots have been turned back on, and now we're at $1 trillion in debt into student loans, and now we're flipping houses again, and now we're racking up more credit card debt again. But that when it all comes to an end, will make it even harder because there's going to be a multitude, vast swath. What the heck was that?
Yeah, sorry, I coughed.
Oh, okay. It was a doom cough.
Yeah, it was a doom cough for sure.
That's funny because that's German, and German stuff's
that's
fun.
Like a dumbhead, right?
Dumbhead. Listen, let me finish my thought. Okay. This is important. Listen, this is important. The people that are claiming happiness now, and I don't pretend to say somebody isn't happy, but it's a metric being used. If it's because they're consuming and because they can flip their house again, or because their credit cards are turned back on, these are the folks that are going to feel it even harder when there truly is a crisis of currency, or there is a complete financial collapse of the West. Those people are going to be the ones that are shocked and awed into a whole new lifestyle that they could have never even imagined before. And I believe the people that are stuck in the war land, in the Midwest, right, in the Detroits, in the Wisconsins, the area that have been hard hit because of manufacturing, the folks that have been resourceful for all these years are going to be a lot better off than the folks who are shoved into government-funded cities in a lot of cases.
Well, what's not government-funded? The people are completely government-funded and pretty upset about it, pretty not... they're on the dole and they're complaining. They're not happy about being on the dole. So, the government's kind of a lose-lose situation.
The ones that are honest are the ones that are saying how happy they are. They're on the dole, and they're happy about it. So they live in these happiest places in the world because they're on the dole. But you're right, Doug. As a whole, the entire economy is on the dole. I don't care if you're a neocon or a flamin' lib. We're, in one form or another, we're on some kind of government-controlled dole. And the second that they turn the dole off, in this case, in the case of the neocons, if they stop buying mortgage-backed securities or $80 billion a month, it's game over. And all this euphoria over your investments growing again because the stock market's at 16,000 and there's some housing starts going on. All of that subsidy, when it goes away, when that debt creation, when that debt that's being put onto our back stops, so does all these investments, so does all the euphoria from the neocons. Same thing goes on the other side of the coin when the realization that we can't do this anymore, or the confidence in our dollar flies by the wayside. Everybody who is out there screaming, I want more and I want it free and I want it now, I want a house, I want food, I want health care, I want all of this, and you will give it to me. Well, when they realize that this money train doesn't last forever, they're going to be a bunch of sad individuals, Doug Owen.
And then they may end up having to suffer under martial law. I found this video. Are you familiar with the Next News Network?
Next News Network. I'm on there all the time. I broadcast my hour that I do a week. Still broadcast there.
Cool.
Gary Franchi. He's supported my efforts for quite some time.
Well, I was on Reddit Conspiracy. You can always find me there. I love Reddit Conspiracy because it's the woo-woo, the wacky, the stuff that I just like reading. It's like, okay, what's the deal?
What is it? Riddick?
Reddit Conspiracy. Their conspiracy section. Reddit.com. You familiar?
No, I'm not.
Oh man, really? It's kind of, you remember Dig?
Yeah.
Okay, it's like Dig, except it's
I feel dumb right now. I should know this.
Yeah, it's huge. It's community news. Yeah, reddit.com. Check it out real quick.
Yeah, I'm here right now. I don't see a conspiracy section. I got to type this in somewhere.
No, if you look up at the top of it, you see all those different categories.
Yep, I'm here. I'm all over it. You know, and I've been here before, and it reminds me of a when I look at the format here, it reminds me of a chat board.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's like. So if you look at the top there's one that says conspiracy. If you click on it, there's always... Well, anyway, I clipped this from there, and this is out of Las Vegas.
A stockpile of military vehicles were recently discovered occupying a secluded commercial property on the outskirts of Las Vegas, at the address of 5750 Sky Point Drive. It doesn't seem as if the Humvees and other military-grade vehicles are for sale, even though they are stationed at a former car dealership that has been stripped of its business logo and signs. It would appear as if the equipment is deliberately being hidden from the public on this secluded property surrounded by barbed wire fences.
Yeah, and you got to see it. I mean, it does look pretty shady. Now, I don't know if it's martial law preparations, but it's as close as you could get to, some seedy-looking spot where the government or maybe, and this is what I was thinking, not so much martial law preparations, though, who knows? I mean, when I was in Vegas, it's pretty brutal. I mean, they were actually... there was a story about the police forcing some couple to let them try to surveil from their home their next door neighbor, and basically, Third Amendment. I mean, trying to force them to take on soldiers in their own home, quartering soldiers. But anyway,
I remember that story.
Yeah,
I remember that story.
It's only a couple weeks ago, so I'm just wondering if this is a bunch of military equipment that's left over that. Through one of these federal programs they're doling out to the police department, if because they do have a lot of that they are, for a variety of reasons, but really, I mean, shifting to this military U.S. domestic economy or realization is definitely happening. So
yeah.
Anyway, I mean, food for thought. Interesting things are happening.
Food for thought. I think it's good food for thought, and I also think that it should be something that people are thinking about, because if you follow the timeline, from 9/11 to current, right, and you see the degradation of freedom in the country, and there's no arguing, there's no debate there, and anybody that would debate that with you, don't waste your time, because it is painfully obvious in alternative, in independent, in established from top to bottom that we are on this path to where we are losing, where we continue to lose freedoms, and we're seeing it grow out of a police state. Now, if that weren't the case, we wouldn't have issues like the NSA or the IRS or all these other alphabet agencies who are stepping all over the Constitution and all over your so-called alleged inalienable rights in the name of safety and security. And so the idea that we're seeing stockpiles of military gear or police forces becoming more militarized, that too shouldn't shock anybody. It's what should be what is a question in my mind, I should say, is when is the realization that the game is over and the implementation of these crazy, insane militarized police forces unleashed onto the people? We see little tidbits of it here and there, right? We see a little outreach or a little shocking activity by police forces here and there. But when are we going to start to see it en masse? And I think inevitably it's going to happen, Doug. We're going to see either swaths of the population who are together pissed off, and you're going to see this crackdown by government, or you're just going to have, again, a tipping point where we keep lying about the employment numbers, we keep lying about how many people are living in poverty, and just the misery index becomes so overwhelming that you can't hide it in the media or hide it with statistics anymore, and you have more people pushing back. Again, you'll see that militarized police come to bear its force on the people of the country. It's inevitable. It has to happen.
Right. Well, and it's happening a lot more than people would like to admit. And you just look at the Occupy movement and the brutal tactics that were used against them, especially in New York. I mean, which is the preeminent police state in this country, and it's only second to London maybe as a surveillance city. But the mass rounding up and netting of protesters and others that the state considers to be ne'er-do-wells, or others that maybe get put on a list because the state has interest in you, because you criticize foreign policy and you criticize your money being used for things that are, in your mind, unconscionable. And I don't know where it ends. I mean, you asked the open-ended question there. Maybe when everybody's on the Soylent and eating their Google burgers and
your iBurger.
Yeah, your iBurger.
iChips.
Yeah. iChips, iFish.
It is going to happen, and I'm with you. I don't know when, but and honestly, I think it's overdue. At least in my opinion, I've been waiting for the Bubba effect moment, where somebody is outright murdered by police or government, and there's a mass upswell of people pushing back. That is going to happen, and maybe it'll be due to circumstance, maybe outright poverty, or people being evicted, or people being foreclosed on. Some event is going to occur in our future where we're going to see what all this surveillance is about, what all this security build out is about.
Yeah. And maybe it's going to be the sun freak out that's going to happen. Did you hear about the shift? You're going to have a magnetic pole shift, and some are saying it's going to affect people's behavior in the next few months. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there because I thought it was interesting. But
it is interesting.
Yeah, NASA is actually saying this, but NASA's never straight answer. So
yeah, well, I honestly think that is interesting. By the way, the sun's going to flip its magnetic poles, and then people are going to freak out. Well, I don't think it's going to take much to push people to freak out. Because under this thinly veiled aura of democracy and aura of recovery is reality. And reality is we have more people on food stamps or more people in bread lines than we did during the Great Depression. We're still foreclosing 1 million plus people a year. And the people who are finding jobs, we're putting more in part-time jobs than we are full-time jobs. And they're not making any money when they do, and they can't afford to live with our inflated or highly inflated dollar that we've destroyed over the last decade. But what I see coming, I pulled up one whole article I brought to the program tonight. What I see coming also that I think a lot of folks in independent media are not touching on is the Stasi state, right? The East German police state. And the reason I specify Stasi and not Soviet style is because in East Germany, you had a majority of the population that worked for government, and a majority of the population was spying on the minority of the population. And Doug, I think that we are seeing more and more people fall into this category, regardless if they admit it or not, or and maybe even in some cases, like this story I think shows, regardless if they even realize they're working on behalf of tyrannical government. It is happening, and we're going to continue to see something, say something, spy on your neighbor. If you think something's wrong next door, then call, and they'll come down and snatch the neighbor's kids or kick in their door, tase them, whatever the case is. But this story is out of Colorado, and it is an apartment complex. The Oakwood Apartments in Castle Rock, Colorado, sent notice to residents last week of a new provision banning all firearms, all weapons on the premises. Tenants have till October 1st to comply. This individual they interviewed, Art Deutsch, he's a 77-year-old retired Marine Corps veteran, told the news station he's afraid he'll lose his home if he doesn't go along with the new rule. He's a hunter and has a concealed carry permit. He is going, Deutsch, I'll just read this to you. Deutsch, who's living in a fixed income, says managers told him he has three options: get rid of his guns and stay, keep his guns and move out voluntarily, or keep his guns and be forced out. Now, this story in and of itself, right, is just a you got to be kidding me type story. Right. But the people who own this apartment building, and the people who are going to enforce this onto these tenants, they're buying into the current dialogue of gun control. This current notion that we have to get all guns out, and the right patriotic thing to do is what we're going to not have law-abiding citizens with firearms. So they're implementing it into this apartment complex. Now, in an era where more and more people are moving into rentals, there's less home ownership than there has been in decades in this country. I see stories like this, and I think to myself, all right, so this is the path we're going to go down. We're going to go, if you're, this is back pre-Civil War. If you're a landowner, you can vote. If you're a homeowner, you can own a gun. If you can't, then you can. Good luck trying to find a tenant who's not buying into the government mantra of gun control, or a landlord who's not buying into the government mantra of gun control, because they're not going to let you be armed if you're just one of the plebes out there in the world.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do believe that if you don't own it, then you're at the behest of it. Your children under your roof play by your rules, and it's your home. You make those decisions, and I think that's their right. Now, I think it's unfortunate, and I do think that maybe what they're doing is out of the best interest. I have a friend of mine. His little sister lived in an apartment complex in South Austin, and her next door neighbor was cleaning his gun. Nice guy, friends, accidentally discharged it in his house, shot right through her kitchen while she was sleeping. Yeah. Now, here in Texas, nobody's going to start, a petition or start telling their tenants that they have to leave because they have firearms, because that would be financial suicide. Right. But just to play devil's advocate for a moment, and I believe wholeheartedly in the Second Amendment and your right to own a firearm and protect yourself. I think that protection of yourself, your life, your liberty, your family is paramount, and the Magna Carta, beyond even the Constitution, gives you that. It's a God-given right, or it's a primal right even for us to be able to defend ourselves. Try,
I like the word primal.
Yeah, try to corner a dog. It's going to bite you. Why? Because it's protecting itself. And you can try to tell the dog, that's not right, dog. And that's what we're doing. That's how asinine it is. It's asinine.
I go ahead.
Well, they're trying to condition people out of a natural instincts.
It is. I disagree with you wholeheartedly on the premise of it's theirs and they can strip you of that Second Amendment inalienable right. No, they can't. They actually can't. When you lease an apartment or you sign a rental agreement, that is in effect your domicile, your property.
No, I agree with that. I agree that, but I think that the by the letter of the law that it would be okay. Well, we don't have at the end of our term. Whenever I don't think that they could force them out legally, but I don't know that might vary state to state.
This article goes on to say that in cases where rules are implemented in situations involve landlords and tenants, courts typically favor on the side of landlords. So maybe they will, but the idiot, the idiot of this is they're not banning alcohol, right? They're not banning alcohol in the apartment complex, and they're far more likely. These tenants are far more likely to be injured by another tenant being drunk out on the street, running somebody over through the parking lot in the apartment complex than they are to have a weapon discharge accidentally.
Sure.
It's catchy, and it's in the news right now.
Right.
It's in the lexicon right now. So this notion of a arm-free, a gun-free apartment complex, it's in vogue. So I think that's everything that's behind this. This is somebody that wants to latch on to the agenda being pushed forward and say, yeah, we're part of this team. Look at us, we're playing along.
And it has been pushed forward. You see these rules and regulations for government-assisted homes, or the ability for the government to come into your home at any time if they somewhat subsidized it. Some of the fine print will leave people vulnerable to the state and to, I think, arbitrary laws. I do think that this is somebody that has been listening to too many Joe Biden motivational speeches. I'm taking it in my own hands. I'm going to get these guys and get their guns out of here. I'm making a first step. They probably think that they're noble and patriotic, but yeah, and that's why I think we have to start moving, and why we should really cherish a culture of ownership, because when you are just another serf on the global plantation, another pleb, you don't get to make the rules. You make the rules in your own home, but you only make them so much. I mean, I own my home, but guess what? If I don't pay the taxes at the end of the year, I don't own this. So we're all renters. But, in 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, I really started to see this pick up with these other morality laws. You can't smoke in your home. And, of course, that's for your safety. You don't want people smoking cigarettes. And, hey, yeah, it's true. People do burn down houses from time to time, apartment complexes with a cigarette butt. Probably the most likely culprit to burn down your house or your apartments. But do I think you should have the right to smoke? Sure. Do I think you should have the right to tell tenants, hey, we don't want that, and that's damaging my property? Sure.
Right.
But when it comes to guns, gun ownership, in that, I mean, I think it's a shame. But I think that they'll be so chastised and so shamed by those like ourselves, that the national outcry. I mean, this is only 4 apartments, but there is a huge national outcry and demonization of this apartment complex. I saw the same article. I'm sure it's definitely made the rounds. It's been everywhere. So, I mean, there's been a lot of attention to this, and at least we're getting into the honest debate, because their talking points are going to be, this is for safety. This is for safety. But like you said, I mean, it's unrealistic, and it's not even based in reality. I mean, the chances of you being shot by your next door neighbor are far less than you being maybe even accosted by your next door neighbor.
I think I'm more likely to be killed by a terrorist than I am a discharge of my neighbor's semi-automatic, whatever he might have.
The truth be told, you're more likely to be killed by a police officer than you are a terrorist. 8 times more likely. That's science, my friend.
Science doesn't lie.
Science never lies.
Never dishonest.
Now, we haven't just done as well as we did last time with managing time. We've done better. We are well over 10 minutes longer. We're at 76 minutes here.
Oh, man. This is supposed to be, Doug, listen, this is supposed to be 45 minutes of commercial-free
We're giving too much away.
This is crazy. I'm not going to twice a week yet. Not yet.
No, not yet. Well, I mean, and here's the thing. I mean, I've still got a ton of other things that we didn't even get into. I mean,
I do too, actually. I had some other things that I wanted to bring up, but I'll save for next week.
The death of the media barons. Poor Berlusconi. He's going to jail. And now the Washington Post, the Boston Globe.
The death of the Washington Post is now been gobbled up by Amazon.
Yeah, and Bezos, he's a Bilderberger, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. So we're going to get some Bilderberger neocon talking points, and I think they're positioning him to be the pro-Rand Paul. This is my prediction. The Washington Post is going to be pro-Rand Paul all the way. It's going to be the voice for the Republican Party.
Whoa. Wait a minute. First of all,
early prediction in Doomcast number 2.
That is a very early prediction. First of all, as far as I'm concerned, Rand Paul, he is still slightly more favorable in the establishment media than his dad was. Slightly. I still think my opinion of Rand Paul is he is a relief valve for freedom lovers across this country, and that is it.
Could you do worse than McCain? Could you do worse than Romney? I mean,
now you have Rand Paul, who is going to grab a lot of this energy of people who are fed up with intrusive government, NSA, drones flying over this country, illegal wiretaps, illegal gathering of electronic data. You'll have somebody like Rand Paul paying lip service to it, but what a lot of people don't realize is he signs off on this crap as long as it's for protecting the nation from terrorists. He is, as far as I'm concerned, more dangerous than John McCain, because at least John McCain, he's a war hawk he wants to kill a bunch of people, and he wants to invade a bunch of nations, and he wants to do it under the guise of the red, white, and blue. I think that Rand Paul got a lot of his father's, a lot of the energy that his father created, but he wants to play ball in Washington, D.C. So I think he's nothing more than a relief valve. So people will listen to him and say, yeah, somebody's representing us. But at the end of the day, I think he's mainstream.
Yeah, well, he's a senator. So, that tells you all you need to know. I mean, you got to... he's not a congressman. He's a senator. That's pretty impressive. Senator, not one of those pesky representatives.
Yucky Dr. Paul representatives.
That's right. He's taking it to the next level. And we'll see. I think that there's a lot of people that want to be apologists, and then there's a lot of people that want to be hypercritical. If you go to Washington and you plan on being a senator, there's certain rings you're gonna kiss. There's certain people you bow to. There's certain people you pay lip service and placate to, and that's all there is to it. So if you're going to be in that position, you're going to do that. And I think that some people
if you want to play the game, if you want to keep it if you want to keep it at the current status quo, yeah, you're right. And I think that's what he is.
But if you're playing the game, then the question is, then when do you stop playing the game and you start?
Never.
Never. Or are you just going to play the game?
You're just going to play the game. And this is my opinion, of course. But that logic, and it just frustrates me, especially when you hear politicians talk like this. Well, I got to jump through this hoop, that hoop, because I'm going to change it a little bit from the inside. Bull crap. That doesn't happen, ever. It never, ever happens. Nothing positive has been accomplished by that, as far as I'm concerned, or at least evidence has never been brought to me that I've seen that shows me that. What happens is the exact same thing that we've seen over the last decades, which is the people that stay in there to these ridiculous terms. 20-time congressmen, 10-time senators. They're in there forever. They're the ones that truly control the legislative process. They're the ones who decide what will be talked about, what won't be talked about, what will be voted on, what won't be voted on. And these so-called do-gooders who are running around saying, well, I'm going to play the game and change it from the inside, a little bit here, a little bit there. No, you're not. All you're going to do is you're going to vent a little bit for your constituency, but at the end of the day, you're going to be a butt-kissing game player. That's it.
Vote Doomcast. Vote Doomcast. It's not going to fall on deaf ears. We will represent the people, and you can do that by just using your voice, telling people about the show, and, well, we're going to be bringing lots more content to the program as we continue in our new weekly slot. So I'm really excited about it, Charlie, and see, I think the hardest thing about doing this show is ultimately going to be how we curtail. And
it's almost to the point now. Doomcast number 2, almost in the can. And before the program tonight, I looked at the clock and I said, okay, I better go get a hold of Doug because we're going to do this. And I thought to myself, okay, I can plan to do the next thing I have to do tonight right at the top of the hour. But I told myself, you know what? That ain't going to happen. I know we're going to run long, and that is going to be the challenge, Doug. We're going to be looking at this Wednesday night, from now on Wednesday night, and saying to ourselves, I'm going to encroach into my entire evening because we're going to run 2 hours long every night. So we need to make a commitment now. Unlike Rand Paul, who's playing lip service to his commitments, you and I need to make a commitment that will hold it within the reins of the established parameters set forth herewith.
All right,
now.
it's gonna take two to tango. I'm gonna
Two to
give you.
tango.
Yeah, I'll use a. I'll use a. Whenever we're getting close, that way you'll know that we're on our way, or maybe a little.
20 minutes ago, that should have went off then, right?
The bun is done.
Doug Owen, blacklistednews.com, Charlie McGrath, wideawakenews.com. This has been Doomcast. You can listen to previous episodes at Doomcast. Doug Owen, always a pleasure, man. Always a pleasure. Great to be on here with you, and I'll talk to you again next Wednesday.
You will, and until then, everybody take care, be good, and spread the word. Doomcast.
Peace out, Doomer.